The summer before my freshman year of high school, I was sick and my parents and I were not sure what was wrong. At first, it was just a minor inconvenience. Blurred vision was my top complaint and also increased thirst. So I didn't really think anything was too big of a deal. And then I started to rapidly lose weight. I lost 20 pounds in 1 month. My vision and thirst started worsening and I was beginning to get so fatigued I could hardly walk up the stairs. I began to experience extreme hunger to the point where I just couldn't get satiated. My parents made me an appointment with my doctor. I got blood work done, and that same day I was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes and was sent to Texas Children's Hospital. Today I want to share how a person deals with managing type 1 diabetes, what exactly type 1 diabetes is and what it entails, as well as just some facts. NIDDK defines type 1 diabetes as an autoimmune disorder that occurs when your immune system destroys your insulin-producing cells inside of your pancreas. This disease is lifelong and doesn't go away. Scientists believe this happens whenever your body is not able to fight off an infection or a sickness, or just your genetics they come into play. Endocrine Web states that the average age of people diagnosed with type 1 diabetes is 14, which was the age I was diagnosed. People tend to confuse type 1 with type 2, which is a completely different disease in itself. Type 2 is typically caused by being inactive and overweight. The CDC states 5% of the population of people with diabetes have type 1 and 95% of the people with diabetes have type 2. So what happens when you get diagnosed? When you get diagnosed, you're sent to the hospital for a few days up to a week. I was hospitalized for 4 days. You're hooked up to IVs that give you insulin and fluids to bring your blood sugar levels down. The staff then helped you to understand this disease. In those 4 days that I was there was so many doctors coming in and out, diabetes educators, endocrinologists, nutritionists, giving me all the information and details about this disease, how to check my blood sugar, how to take shots, everything to that extent, nutrition, exercising. So what's life with diabetes like the first few months? The first few months are basically all about adjustment. Luckily, I was diagnosed in the summertime, so I had a few months to kind of recuperate before school started. It's all about learning about your body, how it reacts to insulin, how to know when your blood sugar is getting high, what it feels like when your blood sugar gets low, what to do, everything to that extent. At this point, you don't have an insulin pump. You're taking shots of insulin with a syringe, and you're checking your blood sugar manually by pricking your finger a minimum of 10 times a day. So what is your social life like? Well, you're pretty lethargic for a few weeks after you get diagnosed, so you're not really up to going out or doing anything. And you really shouldn't. This is all about understanding your body. You just got diagnosed with a lifelong disease. You need to really understand everything before you go out into the real world and get kicked out of the nest. So diabetes is counting carbohydrates, so that makes eating out the first few weeks and months pretty hard. You need to know how many carbohydrates are in your meal, and then you take insulin based on how many carbohydrates you're eating. So restaurants that don't have their nutrition facts, you probably should not go to the first few months. So how do you just live a normal life after this? Well, with anything in life, it becomes your new normal. You have to learn how to adjust, like I said. I began to get an insulin pump 4 months after I was diagnosed. Most endocrinologists suggest you wait a few months before you get an insulin pump. An insulin pump, Healthline.com defines as a small computerized device that constantly drips insulin into the body through thin, flexible tubing. So I have an insulin pump as well. Let me get that out for you. So this insulin pump is what I use to give myself insulin, obviously. I put in how many carbohydrates I'm eating in my blood sugar, and it automatically, or I press the bolus button and it goes into my body instead of me having to take insulin shots, which is so much easier. I also have a CGM, which according to Ega Matrix is a device that measures the amount of glucose in your interstitial fluid through a sensor placed just underneath your skin. This is what tracks my blood sugar so that I don't have to prick my finger anymore. And it is connected to my phone via Bluetooth. So there's an app that tells me my blood sugar every 5 minutes of the day. So what do I live like on a day-to-day basis? So like I said, my CGM and my pump are what I live off of now. Those are the best tools enabling me to have my blood sugars as tight as possible, and my A1C, which is your blood sugar levels that are averaged together as best as they can be. So these tools both help me manage my diabetes so well. Without them, my life would be a million times harder, and they were the first few months I was diagnosed, but you have to be able to learn everything the old-fashioned way before you get the technology. So exercising and nighttime are some hard factors that come into play with living with diabetes. Exercise brings your blood sugar rapidly low if you don't know how to correctly eat before your exercise and take insulin before you exercise. So my pump personally has a setting where I don't get as much insulin when I exercise so that it doesn't drop low, and you're supposed to eat at least 15 grams of carbohydrates with protein and a little bit of fat with your meal before you exercise. At nighttime, that's another part where it gets tricky. I have my continuous glucose monitor, like I said, the one that tracks my blood sugar every 5 minutes, and obviously I'm not able to look at my blood sugars at nighttime because I'm sleeping. So this gives me alerts if my blood sugar goes high or low during the nighttime so that I wake up and am able to fix that. If I'm not waking up, it is also attached to my parents' phone, so they get the alerts as well. And when I was in college, my roommate would get the alarms if I wasn't waking up. So there's still those small, meticulous things that I deal with, and everyone who has type 1 deals with on a day-to-day basis, but I'm so happy to be able to manage this disease well. This disease has so many factors to it, but we live in a day and age where the medical technology is so advanced that it makes my life so much more easy. Like I said, my CGM and my pump have been the absolute best tools to help me. I hope that I've informed you well over what type 1 diabetes is, what happens when you're diagnosed, and how you manage it on a daily basis. I'm not able to cover everything in 5 to 7 minutes, obviously, but I hope I gave you a good baseline, and I hope you know more now than what you did before watching this speech. Thank you.